What they won't tell you, we will. Come and Take It News.
Welcome to the Come and Take It News podcast. I'm your host, Clint Milby. Rachel, who goes by the name Magay on social media, is a lesbian and legal immigrant from Israel who moved to the U.S. 10 years ago. In 2016, Rachel got involved with politics as she was inspired to support Donald Trump. She has been a vocal activist about various issues, including fighting the COVID mandates and the jab in New York City. She's also a member of Gays Against Groomers and the outreach chair for the Log Cabin Republicans of New York. Talk a little bit about your background growing up. Were you conservative, or was that part of kind of your upbringing, or was that something you adopted later on?
Right. So coming from Israel, I think naturally it makes me a little more like right-leaning, more in regards to, put your country first, pro weapons, or like the Second Amendment, as you would call it here, or like owning weapons. So I have those views already beforehand, but I was not political at all and was not raised conservative. My mom is more right-leaning and my dad is more left-leaning. And I didn't care much about politics because I was thinking, I did have some opinions, but I was not considering myself either or both. I guess I was just in the middle. And I only got into politics when Trump was running in 2016.
And growing up in Israel, you had to do a tour of duty to, that's like part of the deal, right?
So serving the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF, is mandatory for the majority of the population. So I served as part of the mandatory 2 years for women. I served, I was a commander in the IDF. And I felt like it was my duty. For many people in Israel, we don't mind that it's mandatory because we believe in this country, and there have been thousands of soldiers who sacrificed their lives to keep us and our families safe through these years. And it was just our time to give back and to defend the country for this period of time. And many people are staying. I have good friends who stayed for longer, for a few more years. That's how we view it. It's not like, some people were like, I have to go to the army, but to the military. But for many, it's a fellow duty.
Talk a little bit about your coming out experience. You're a gay woman. Talk a little bit about like what that was like. Did you know like when you were a child, or how did that go for you?
So I would say that as a child, I didn't realize it up until I was 13 years old. That's the first time I actually had the acknowledgement that, what I think about this girl is basically I have feelings for her. I felt attraction for the first time. I actually acknowledged that. And it was to another girl. And when I realized that at the age of 13, then it just everything made sense for me at the moment. Because until that point, I just thought I'm just a weirdo. I was the only tomboy girl in my area. I grew up in a very small place in Israel. There was no other lesbians. I was not being taught in school about lesbians or gays. My parents didn't have any gay friends. Like I didn't meet anyone or knew anyone who was gay, but I knew that what I have for this girl is what my girlfriends have for their boyfriends, which I never was interested in. So coming out was, first of all, the realization to myself. I felt that I found myself. That now I just know who I am, and I completely changed to the outside, or how was like my socials behavior completely changed, but. I realized also that there were like signs as I was younger. And I was like, at that moment when I was 9 years old and I have those thoughts. So kids will maybe experience it, but it's not something that is guaranteed, I guess. And then I also met through the years. I realized I'm gay since I was 13, but then there were many lesbians that I met afterwards. As I learned myself, I was like, okay, let me find out other people like me. And many lesbians that I met at the time are straight today they're married to a man and have kids. So I don't know. I guess us as human beings, we're fluid, and we can change our mind, or our minds is. I know that we are changing constantly. I've been changed as a person. Many things about me have changed. Not my sexual attraction, but um, coming out at the time was, thankfully, I feel like I'm very lucky because my parents accepted me and loved me, and they didn't try to change me. Um, I am telling stories about how my mom wanted to be more feminine girl, but that was my early years. But on my teen years, they really, just supported whatever I wanted to do. They're very supportive parents. Um, and it's not something I wanted to do. It's something that I am. But the realization of that, like bringing it out, saying it out loud, they made sure that I know that I have their support. Even though my mom said it's going to be tough, it's going to be tough to be with them because she was saying how one woman in a relationship, like it's too much drama, too much, feelings and all of that. So I can't imagine two in there. And mom, you were right.
So, did you tell your parents then at 13? Were you just like,
not at 13? No, not at 13. At 13, I didn't tell anyone yet. I was like, well, hold up. And especially as I mentioned, small place in Israel, not the most progressive spot. Tel Aviv is very like progressive in that way. There are gay prides in there, but not where I'm coming from. So it wasn't something that I was running to tell everyone. I did tell. It took a few months, and then I was able to start sharing to my closest friends. And then I eventually told my mom when I was 16. Actually, it took a while, and then my dad realized it by himself later.
What was the talk a little bit about the environment of just at that time? Did you have access to the internet when you were growing up, and if so, were you seeing?
It was around that time that I guess, well, there were some later on there were some chats. Not when I was 13, but later on there was like the ICQ. Yes, there was no me being involved online before I realized it. Okay, I like this. One of the stories about me wanting to go that girl, when I realized that I liked her, always is in my efforts to get close to her, I reached out to her with a piece of paper and a pen to take her number because like I didn't have a cell phone, so no access to internet much, but later on a little bit with whatever like chat platforms that were available to us.
So, I mean, did you like, do a Google search or Yahoo search or whatever? Like, look, I'm gay and I don't know what to do, or did you have access to like information and?
I never. So I didn't do the Google search, but what I did is I mentioned like I went out to look other people like me. Then I don't know how I know about it. I don't have the memory of how I knew that existed, but I knew that it's called Aguda. It's trying to find the translation for Aguda, but it's the community center, the LGBT community center, basically.
Okay.
Where gay can just go and then have like some sort of a community, I guess. And they were mostly just doing like cultural things there. And then you may have like, I don't know, speakers or things of that sort, but basically it's mostly like a center to give you answers if you need, I guess. So that's where I did go, but it was only when I was 15 already.
Right.
Not there. Yeah.
Were you able to? Were there movies or things like that you were able to access, or books or things like that you were able to access that information? I guess.
It was there if I wanted to look it up. I never had. I think at the time I didn't have. I don't remember having the motivation to go and look for it online. But then I think later on, as things naturally started showing up on TV, I at first I liked it. I liked to have some representation. Or there was a show, The L World. That was the first show when I was already older.
Oh, the L Word. Yeah.
So I do appreciate that show, but what I don't appreciate is how one wants to, like what's happening today is they kind of like, you have to have a gay character in every in every commercial, in every episode, in every movie, and it's like shoving down the throat. I'm like, I'm fine. I don't need this pandering. I mean, I like there are some shows on some levels, obviously, that really showing the reality in a way, or like resonate more with my kind of life and what I'm going through. Definitely like to see that representation, but then it's doesn't have to be everywhere all the time. We're a very small portion of the population. Like it's about like 7%, I think, gay people. Like it's not that like in every group of people they're going to be a gay person.
I think they said 10% is the official, but you know, it just depends, I think, on the area of where you live. You know, obviously larger cities are going to have more of a concentration of gay people than the rural areas.
Sure. As I was in that small town where I was like, I didn't know any other lesbian when I realized I was lesbian, but then later on other girls came out of the closet. But then, you know, it was enough for me to go to the closest city, Beersheba, where you can find there that LGBT community center where you had gays and lesbians that were attending, and some of them were older. One thing that I learned at the time, and it's something that I till this day I will speak up against, speak up, and I wanted to mention, if I'm already talking about that center, is that, you know, what I liked about it is that if I need questions, and I can go there and find questions, but I wish there was some regulation on it where it's not that I exposed to sexual things myself maybe at the time, but it was eventually, leading to it with everyone else that are involved. And what I learned already back then at that young age, that there's a lot of pedophilia in the gay community. Mostly, I'm sorry, but mostly with gay men. I mean, I'm sorry to admit it. Also with women, but it's just very, like it's the norm with them. Where, so for myself, I didn't experience any, nobody tried ever to sexually harass me, thankfully. Nobody's going to mess with me. But many of my gay young friends were their first time relationship was with older men. And it's till this day, you have many couples of older men, younger men, but it's kind of like, it's the norm that any teenager would eventually have sexual relationship with an older gay man.
Right.
That's totally fine. Like, and then I'm like thinking, well, if it was a girl, if it was a young girl and an older man, society looks at it different.
Well, I think where it comes to bear is if it's predatory, you know, if it's especially somebody younger than 18, you know. No,
I'm talking about, I'm talking about minors, obviously under 18, sorry.
Right.
I thought it was clear. No, I'm talking about 15, 16 years old. 14 years old. Okay. So I wasn't clear with age, but I'm jumping on the subject if
No, it's cool. So one of the things, that was the thing that I've listened to you on Instagram and on different podcasts that I found most interesting was like, you were like, I wasn't confronted or bombarded in the way, and I can't imagine what my life would be like today had I been bombarded with all of this information, specifically regarding being trans. Especially for, like I have friends that are like, they're super femme. They've always been that way. They play with Barbies. They carry around purses, you know, they play with makeup and stuff like that. But they never even considered transitioning or even drag for that matter. And now you've got these people that are in place in our school system that are saying, oh, well, that's who you are. You're and then immediately pushing them into medical procedures. And I just, like you said, you know, you had the space to be able to grow up and to explore yourself and to get to know who you were without making any life-changing decisions that were going to alter the rest of your life. And let's face it, I mean, that's what they're doing, is it they're changing these kids' lives. It's insane.
Absolutely. This is why I'm being vocal. Why I've been vocal for many reasons. I find it that since I have the courage to speak up, then might as well use it. That's why I speak up. But then I'm consistently talking against the movement of mostly transgenderism on the kids right now, because it is something that I've experienced for myself. As you just shared, I thankfully I was able to have that childhood that was not, well, I guess people weren't woke at the time, and they didn't think it's cool and trendy to transition. I did meet some people in my early, like in my adolescence years, that later on transition. And I also met many people who regret it. But then my own personal experience was that through this whole time, people are like telling me, "Don't you want to be? It seems like you want to be a man. Don't you want to be a man? How should I? What is your preferred pronouns?" I went to a therapist because I felt I needed to go to see a therapist just to be able to work on like to express myself when I'm like, in an argument, or like really feeling emotional, to be able to, just talk about it. And then as we're talking about childhood, she picked on, I don't know how that thing brought up, but I shared that as a kid, when I was like 3, 4 years old, I wanted to be, I told my parents that I wish I was a boy. I wanted to be a boy. And she picked it and kind of like planted a seed by saying, well, maybe that's like, she like kind of like, oh, maybe that's what you need to be happy with yourself. You need to transition to be a man. And I'm like, what? You think? Like, that was 8 years ago. And 7, 8 years ago. At that time, I wasn't as sharp and knowing all what I know today. And I kind of like, I trusted her. She's the expert. And that's what happens today as well. You were saying, like, the teacher tells them that they can choose their gender because the doctor may have made a mistake. Then they're going home telling their parents, oh, I'm a boy. I'm a boy. I'm a boy. I want to be a boy. I want to be a boy. What do you do with that kid? Everyone's telling you, well, if she wants to be a boy, then probably she is a boy. And therefore, let's immediately go block her hormones with puberty blockers, just until, like, we'll see, she'll make her mind. But her mind can change a million times. Every day she can change her mind. Once you introduce the puberty blockers, there's no going back. It's irreversible. The damage is already done. And it's not enough. They're allowing these young girls to do surgeries, where other young girls who want to change their nose or want to do boob jobs for whatever reasons, they cannot, right? Until a certain age. But these young girls can go just because they think they're a boy. They can go ahead and do a double mastectomy. And I see it as I said with that therapist, how this industry back then already, but I'm sure, I see it all over the place now. Now it's not just the therapists behind the closed doors. Now it's on YouTube Kids. It's the list goes on and on. But
Nickelodeon, a lot of Disney shows. It's in our face everywhere. It's
in the White House. We have the Assistant Secretary of Health, Dr. Richard Levin, who's pushing it and telling you they're selling this lie that is saving lives. That's why they love using that lie. And that's what also the therapists are doing and manipulating the parents. They're telling them, what do you prefer? So that kid who their teacher told them, a lesbian is a girl who likes a girl. So if you're a girl and you really like your friend, and you're thinking, oh, I'm a lesbian because I really like my friend, because I'm a girl and she's a girl, therefore I'm a lesbian, or therefore I need to be a man because if I like to play with the boys, and then the therapist will tell them, well, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to have an alive boy or an unalive girl? Basically. Sorry. I guess we're not allowed to say the word itself on social media. I've seen many people not using the word suicide. Or they're giving a manipulation that's saying that, like, if it's 100% sure that these kids are going to commit suicide if they want to affirm their new gender by actually giving them gender affirming care, which is puberty blockers, which is the pro-sex hormone, and surgery, obviously, yes. And it's, so it was the therapist then, but also we're looking at TikTok and other social media platforms where us gays against groomers, when we're talking against this, against surgeries for children, against the medicalization of children and indoctrination, then we're deemed hateful, we're homophobes, we're transphobe, and we're all of that, and we've been censored and deplatformed. Yet those trans, trendy, cool videos of these women celebrating, topless on the beach with these cars are like being pushed on everyone who is in that age group, basically. That's the content they say. That's what they're like defending each other. They're thinking like they keep constantly receiving that this is a rewarded behavior. Like if you do that, right? If you do that, you'll be cool. You'll all get all these likes. People will be like, "Oh, you're so courageous, so amazing."
No, at the end of the day, that's what they're after. Is they're trying to rain down attention on some kids that might, I don't want to say be troubled, but they might be in an awkward place of their development. And that's the key thing here is like, I remember, I mean, who doesn't remember that time of being like 12, 13 years old, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade? Those are brutal years. I would never want to go back and do those things again. And I'll tell you why. It's because some kids develop quicker than others. Some kids develop slower than others. And, the years, you could be the same age as somebody, but, like physically it's like dog years. You look like 5 years older than the other person or something like this. And all of that inadequacy. And then, plus being, forced to shower with each other and all of this thing, this closeness that kids are forced on at that age can make you feel awkward because you don't look like somebody else or you're not developing as fast as somebody else. And it seems to me that they're utilizing that to prey on kids and saying, well, that feeling of inadequacy, that feeling of difference is because you are the wrong sex. And I just can't even imagine being a school teacher or a school counselor and venturing to take that leap in a child's personal life. It is, when did they get this mandate? When did these teachers, I used to think there was maybe one or two rogue teachers or something like that, and maybe it was at one time. But it seems to me that now, even in the most rural school districts in the United States, at the very least, but I think all over the world, in the Western world, they have the teachers feel they had the mandate from the principals and from the superintendents. And that's where it's like, for me, it's like, hang on a second, there's something more at work here than just a few crazy lefties. This is
that's right. Yeah, as we said, like it's all the way up to the White House and everywhere.
Well, this is an agenda, essentially, and it's not organic. That's the thing about it. It's not coming from gay people. I know trans people. I've known trans people for years, and what I can tell you is the thing that they've always wanted is to be safe and to have access to medical care. In regards to like being able to have transitioned in their childhood years or something like that, I've never even heard anyone speak of that before. I just
think saying out loud that we think that all the kids should be taught about it in school because otherwise, they won't make it to the other side. All of us did. I mean, the kids don't need all indoctrination, and the kids are inclusive by default. You don't need to teach them that, gay men who wearing women's clothes is okay as long as it's, or like the sexual drag queen shows. We don't need to teach the kids about it for them to know it exists. Once they're adult, they can go to this bar and watch that adult content.
No, I mean, absolutely.
It does. I mean, I'm sorry. I am as a gay with Gays Against Boomers. I'm not saying the gays should not be blamed. Some gays should be blamed, but not all of us as a whole. It's never all of us. It's never all Trump supporter or all liberals or all. It's never 100%. There's always people in the middle. Somewhere it does come from gay people in the community, and then also, yeah, as we see, like from Gay Inc. And from the mainstream media. Once again, we can go and go. Planned Parenthood pushing puberty blockers, introducing puberty blockers, trying to push puberty blockers in high school or something of that sort. It's a movement that is going like all across the board right now.
But it's not grassroots.
Directing the kids. So.
Right. Well, I don't think it's grassroots though. One of the things that I've noticed over the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years or something like that. And I haven't gone to too many prides, but I can tell you that, I noticed that there was an uptick in corporate sponsorship of Pride, from Fortune 500 companies. It used to start, it was fashion brands and stuff like that. Now it's AT&T and the FBI. Actually, I saw that they were in the Pride Parade and the U.S. Army and stuff like this. And it's just like, there is this, and I remember thinking like, Pride used to be local artisans coming together and stuff like that. It was more along the lines of people kind of meeting each other and being able to not necessarily be in the closet. And now it seems to be much more of a corporate, like music festival or something like that. And I have to think that has something to do with this. I'm sure you've seen that map that showed like 10 years ago how many gender clinics there were in the United States. And then now it's like, it looks like, I don't know, like a map from AT&T, like 5G carriers, like everywhere, And it's just like, where is this need for this coming from? And is the human race, will we actually how do we get by so far without transitioning our children at such a young age? And what is this really about? Because this is not about people being happy. It's not. There's too many of these kids that are coming back and saying, my God, I made a terrible mistake. And when you look at the horrors that they had to go through, these awful surgeries, it's just like, of course, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to realize that they've made mistakes doing this. It's, what do you think the agenda is? Is it depopulation? Because that's what some people think.
Yeah. So my opinion for why, it's my own personal MAGA, Rachel's opinion.
Right, totally.
Official Gays Against Boomers opinion. But when I look at it, I say it's for three reasons. First of all, I think is the depopulation, or maybe it's the last one, but it's also kind of like it was in 2020. I'm someone who has been very vocal against it, but the mandates and the pandemic, I saw this as an effort of depopulation. We see it today with the vaccines, what's going on, and we'll see how it's going to develop. But now they found like another source of or like another front of depopulating people by basically sterilizing these children. Once introduced to these puberty blockers, once introduced to the surgeries, that's it. They're not. Some of them obviously are capable. We saw all these, pregnant men, right? Saw your face. But yeah, as you mentioned, many regret it. So it is depopulation. It is also pharmaceutical companies making a lot of money from it. And whenever like you see something as odd, you also have to always, follow the money. And you see a lot of money coming in for this. And it's kind of like a win-win situation for them. They're creating this generation of brainwashed. I mean, they brainwash these people to go chop off body parts. What else they gonna brainwash them to? They created such a weak group of followers, or like a group of weak followers who just go and, as I said, believe in that illusion that you can change your gender, that now people would think that you're a man. No, we see that you're not a man. But many people already regret it. I hope with my effort, I will wake some people up. I hope we will be vocal enough to make some changes in regards to legislation. I think things are already happening. I know things are already happening, but it's too slow, and it's always going to be, you have in Utah, they're passing a bill against surgeries, I think, for minors. But then in California, it's a sanctuary state where the kids who in Utah won't be able to get it. They can just go to run away to California, and the state will provide you whatever you need. They'll take care of you. So money, depopulation, and what is it called? Slaves, a slave generation, I guess, in a way. Is that too much?
No, I don't think so. And I think that's the thing that we have to explore because now I'm trying to get him booked, but Frank, who's part of Gays Against Groomers, right? He was speaking at a school board here in California, and he was talking, and he said that they have declared eunuchs a sexual orientation now. Have you heard that before?
Sorry, I didn't see him saying that. Well, that they. Okay, can you repeat that?
So yeah, right.
Eunuchs of.
So there's gay, bi, trans, and now eunuchs. They're saying that some children want to become a eunuch, meaning a non-sexual being. Like okay. They used to call eunuchs like male slaves, I guess, back in the old days or something like that, where they castrated them or whatever, and they were slaves. He said that the people that are putting forth these gender surgeries are now declaring that eunuchs is a sexual orientation. And it's like, what are we even removing kids' sexual sex organs at an age prior to them even knowing like what they're there for? It's just like, how is this not seen as like complete and utter like, well, insanity, but criminality? I mean, this is wrong.
It is criminal. Yeah. It's child abuse to allow that to happen. I mean, if kids cannot, people are talking about kids cannot have tattoos. If kids cannot have tattoos, or they can with the parent consent for some age or something of that sort. But still, like we realize that, tattoo, it can be something very permanent. I mean, it can have consequences if you're having it for your life. But when you're actually looking at tattoo, in that scenario, you can actually remove it. It is reversible to tattoo today. I mean, it's going to be very painful, but you can remove it. I've seen it. They had a few, and she removed them all. You can see them, but you can bring back your breast after you remove them. They will never be back. These breasts are never going to be back. And then you have a doctor who's saying, well, what's the problem? Like, they can just go and get breasts in a later time if they want them. Like if that's the alternative. So a person who's already have some mental disorder, gender dysphoria, they're confused, they're already mentally not straight mentally. Because there are only two genders. You can only be a man or woman. And if you think and if you believe you're the opposite gender, then it's in your mind. It's not in your body. And to go ahead and treat it with multiple surgeries and disfigured of your whole body, it's really not the way to go when you already have some mental disorder. How these people are supposed to accept themselves, I don't know. Some people do. For some people, it's great. That's awesome. It shouldn't be celebrated. It shouldn't be like, that's what everyone needs if they are confused. If that's not what everyone needs, if they just, Well,
it shouldn't be marketed. I mean, it shouldn't be marketed by corporations or mandated by government. That's for sure.
Well, they're just tagging along. Everyone's making money off of it now. If that's a trendy thing, then everyone else is jumping on it, like The Sims.
Well, one of the things that
all these brainwashed kids now that showing off their scars on TikTok will be like, oh, The Sims is cool, we're gonna play it. They have the crowd to do so. Those corporations who are like pushing it, they have that crowd to do so.
Well, in California, they've got now if I deny my child, if I have a kid here in California, if I deny them access to gender affirming care, they can take the kid away from me. CPS can take my child away from me. And that's happening here.
But CPS should be called on these doctors who will do whatever they're going to do to a child.
I interviewed a young man who. Oh, go ahead.
The butchers. Sorry.
No. That's the thing about it is it's like, how are you following the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm?
Do no harm.
And they know that and it's not just about the surgery itself. It's about the lifelong. These people are medical patients for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Pharmaceutical pharmaceutical customers for the rest of their life.
I mean, it's, I've heard the horror stories, and it's like, well, people say, well, the women can remove their breast or whatever. There's more to breast than just skin and breast material. There's a whole lymphatic system that like utilizes the breast. You take those out. I've heard so many girls that are sitting around talking, about that they've done irreparable damage to their lymphatic system by having their breast removed. The hormone blockers cause osteoporosis because your bones don't grow the way that they're supposed to grow.
Yeah. There are severe side effects of puberty blockers, like brain swelling and decrease of bone density. What else was? They were getting arthritis and other very. It could loss of vision also, but all these things is fun. It's like I had someone commenting on one of my posts, and it's a person that I know personally. She's someone I met in New York a few years ago, and we've been friends a long time ago. And she's like hardcore liberal, but she saw my page and she's like, "Hi, Rachel. I hope you're doing okay." Blah 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 blah. And then she'll start being like, "How you being so like hateful towards these kids if they really need it? We saving their lives, and it's better for that." She said it's better. I'd rather they will get decrease in bone density or like all of these issues and be alive rather kill themselves. So it's kind of like many of these, I don't know about her experience with it, but then it feels like also some people really believe that lie of that they're pushing in regards to suicide rate. Now, it is true that the suicide rate in the transgender community is higher than the population, but it doesn't mean that if they don't affirm their gender, it's 100% that they're going to kill themselves. Once again, repeating it. But and it also doesn't, for women, there's no difference in the suicide rate before or after transition. In one of the largest studies that was done in Amsterdam, where they looked at thousands of them and they checked them for, I think, was it 20 years, or like they were looking at cases from the 70s to 2000 and something, and no change in suicide rate before or after transition or receiving some sort of gender affirming care. These people have some sort of a mental issue that needs to be addressed. People who are committing suicide have some sort of a mental issue. You have to something has to be off in your mind for you to be able to go ahead and do such a thing.
So I have a friend that's trans. She's in her 40s, and when she tried to transition, it took years. They made her go through therapy. They checked her 9 ways to Sunday to make sure that her mind was right before she went into that whole deal. And that's the way it used to be.
Exactly. The standards of care, they had to live a year as the opposite sex with no surgery, with nothing, before they will get approved, but then going through sessions with a therapist, and not like immediately signing off some fake letters for the surgeons. So there's some groups, there's organizations that giving puberty blockers, sending them out, mailing them out to kids who cannot get access to it. It's like there's a dark web for it. I don't know. I guess the way I feel like the way to for us to end it is to be as vocal as possible in order to have access to these kids, but then also pass actual legislations that will ban this. That doctors will not be able to do so. If a patient is under 21, they cannot remove their breast because they think they're a boy. No.
When I guess it was in 2019 was the first time I was in West Hollywood, and I saw at the public library there, and it's West Hollywood, that they had a drag queen story hour. That was the very first time I'd ever heard of it, and I remember thinking, that's interesting. I don't really put those two together, drag queens and story time for kids, as like, I don't see the correlation there, because every drag show I've ever gone to, at the very least, has had some level of sexual innuendo. That's the whole nature of a drag performance. It's sexual, you know, it's either making fun of sex or it is, you know, it's promoting, you know, outrageous, portrayals of sexuality or women's sexuality, by men. And it's like, I don't see the correlation there. I was like, I don't understand. I was like, I guess they could be, but of all the people, that I would want, you know, if my goal was to make like kids not prejudiced against gay people, I would just have regular gay people.
Regular gay people. Exactly. Yeah,
that are successful, that are
I've been telling it's one of these drag queens. You wanna read to the kids, go as the man as you are. Why do you have to put on that wig, the heavy makeup, fake boobs, fake ass? The dress is always like everything, and they're like, oh, stop sexualizing drag queens. You're sexualizing yourselves.
It's a sexual thing. We're not talking about like transvestitism where someone is, you know, or a cross-dresser where someone is trying to like, you know, pass. This is outrageous. You know, that's the whole nature of it. I mean, you go to a drag show, it's a lot of comedy that's in there and everything like that. It's meant for adults. So I just don't, but if that was my goal, is like, you know what, we got a problem in the world today with, people, are prejudicing their kids against gay people. So let's bring in like the most outrageous example and mix those with kids. It was a bad idea. There was something else that they were intending. And I think it was a trans agenda. It wasn't so that kids would be okay with just having gay people, because otherwise you would just have gay people that would like come and read to kids that, you know, right, were successful or pillars of the community or, you know, to be able to say, hey, we're just like you. We're just like everybody else, you know? And I mean, that was the goal, I thought, for many, many years. And, now it's turned into something completely different. And kids are so super someone I saw recently said that
it's everything that they see.
Well,
that's how we develop as human beings. You know, we see something and then we go ahead and do it.
We imitate it, you know. Yeah. And the other thing is someone was saying that they're activating the sexual aspects of the child's personality at a very young age. We're talking like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah, they're going to 5-year-olds to read to them. Yeah, why do they need to? Why do you need a drag queen to read? Have the teacher sit down and do a damn work. Why do we need a drag queen there to tell them? And they're like, no, we just read them a book. It's very innocent. Or they like to paint it all very innocent, but it's all the opposite from innocent. But we're wearing a Disney princess dress. How is it making that sexual? What hair do you have? How's the makeup look like? What do you put as breasts, your shoes, and your whole behavior? But then the really specific books about accepting the other, or like books about being queer, or books about, you know, gender, and specifically directing them with that, like, you know, indoctrinating them with this agenda. And then it's not enough. They also have a conversation after. Okay, so now let's talk about it. Do you want to ask me any questions? Like, you know, and kids are being like, you know, what the hell? But this conversation that is happening, it's kind of like, and there's no consent there. Like it's, some parents bring their kids, I don't understand why. Just teach them yourself about inclusion. You don't need to take them to a drag queen. But these drag queens are not role models. And those shows that they're doing, and they like to call it family-friendly, kids-friendly shows, they're not. They're doing the same thing they would do at the bar, the 21 plus bar, and that's what they know how to do. These are the same drag queens that, you know, probably they show up hangover to your kid's library from, you know, the night before. And then once again, with that drag queens, the reward of getting money, of like, you know, you just need to, you know, be sexual and hump the floor, and, you know, get off, take off your clothes, twerk, and all of those things, and then you're gonna get rewarded with dollar bills. That's
right. And this is the thing that, and maybe I'm just out of step, I don't recall, like, most of the drag shows that I've seen have always been like the drag queen was an MC for other drag performers, or there was, you know, some sort of contest, a dance contest or something like that. But, I don't recall like the drag queens like stripping down and taking dollar bills because, I mean, number one, it takes them too long to get up in all that get up and everything like that to take it off. They don't usually like to do that. They try to stay as flawless as they possibly can. When did this whole thing of like walking around, and that's like, it's like they're not training these kids to be trans as much as they're training them to be sex workers. They're showing them reward for sexual behavior.
For sexual behavior, yeah. I mean, it's both of them. It's also questioning your gender, coming to your parents confused, and also sexualizing them. Absolutely.
The thing of it is that where it comes to bear, I think and this is the reason why I wanted to talk to you, was I was really touched and moved by your story that, you grew up, you were a tomboy, and that's how you grew up. And I mean, I knew tons of girls that were like that. I grew up in the country too, and, girls that, worked on the farm and stuff like that, that they weren't frilly at all, that would get down and rumble with the boys and stuff like that. I mean, and I also knew guys that were highly effeminate, and, you being able to recognize that had you had this undue influence on your life, where you might be right now, you Absolutely. Might be sitting with a bunch of surgeries that you never wanted in the first place.
100%. If I was born, I guess 15 years ago, I definitely would have, at this point, probably already have puberty blockers, already taking testosterone, I don't know, shaving my face, and then probably maybe also doing the breast surgery, probably. I mean, I don't think a 15-year-old Rachel would have been strong enough as a 30-year-old Rachel to eventually realize what the therapist was pushing on me. But the therapist went on for that therapist from like 7 years ago. There was a few sessions where she kept she kept bringing it back, asking me to go do research, eventually asked me to go talk to my family members about it. I spoke to my brother, who eventually woke me up, and I'm like, well, hold up. But she kind of like navigated me towards that path. If a 15-year-old Rachel met that therapist, she won't be able to stop. Like, she won't be able to be like, hold up. And I don't know, I think we gotta do. It's breaking my heart in a way, because I don't see many more butch lesbians. Like, we kind of like extinct. Well, some of them becoming straight, but some of them are becoming men. And like, I don't know. Well, like, I thought like lesbian hate men. Like, what's the deal with that? And you're not even a man. But
the thing of it is they used to be like lesbian bars. They used to be all over the place, and I don't even think there's one in Los Angeles anymore.
It's more the soon she's someone as masculine as me, they're starting with testosterone, and when they're older. Now, look, people call me transphobic because I have this opinion. I believe that they should be able to do it if they want to, as an adult. If that's what they want to do, go ahead and do it. I don't think that we should not let them do it. Okay. I don't think they should not have access to it if they want. I think that the taxpayer money should not pay for it. It's not fair. But go ahead, raise the money and do all this procedure if you want. But I still have my opinion that I'm not in agreement with it. I don't think I see it as an illusion. And asking me to call you a man, and it's kind of like why are we playing pretend? You're not a man, and you never be a man. So that's what I have with the adults. But then me being as vocal and having my platform, where I've been vocal on my platform for the last 4 years, I will say, and I've been vocal. I've been talking about many other issues. I've been very vocal against the mandates, as we said, and all. But with this subject, I keep coming back to it because it is something that goes to me, because I'm like, why not? Like, why? All the message that they hear out there is, if you think you're a boy, then you're a boy. Instead of, if you think you're a boy, you may be confused. Hold up till you're adult, because you may really like yourself. a new adult as I am. I love myself. I really don't want to be a boy. When I said it back then as a kid, it's because I just wanted to play with it. I wanted to play soccer with my cousins, and then they're like, "Oh no, you're a girl. You can't play with us."
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
why I'm not a boy, But once I was a little older and I was able to play basketball with the women, at 13, I started playing basketball. I was great. I didn't need to be a boy anymore. I didn't need them. I didn't want to play with them. It was great. I have enough girls who can play with me, and I can kick their ass. But I cannot kick ass of the boys. Some I could, but it is something that many women have been through, and they're not even gay. Like there were many tomboys. Whenever sharing a video about saving the tomboys, many coming out in the comments and like, "Hey, being a tomboy doesn't mean you're gay." I'm like, I'm not saying that you have to be gay. I'm just saying this is my own experience. I was a tomboy and I'm gay, also gay. But also many tomboys were tomboys for a period of time in their lives, and now they're very feminine, straight women, and that's great. But they're also in this fight to save the tomboys, because if they were born 15 years ago, they may also have been going through a path that they will deeply regret. So it just, we need to give them some balance. In regards to content, when you're looking at TikTok and all these videos, I'm against TikTok. I don't want to. I wish TikTok was not a thing. I wish we would ban TikTok in the US, but we have it. And I was holding myself to get on there for the longest time. But then after talking with Carol, the right side lesbian, I realized that, the kids see all that content over there. I should put some of my content that is more directly to them,
Right.
So they can see maybe some of it. And I'm glad to share, actually, there's one video, the most recent video that I posted there, I have over 400,000 views. So I guess people do see that positive, that you can be, you could be confused. People will tell you that you should be a boy, but no, you just be, either a tomboy, or you'll grow out of it, or it's fine. And you love yourself for who you are, the body that you have. And, it's something that if I lose anything of my, at the end of it, if I'll lose any organ, if I'll cut off any organ, if I'll change anything on the outside, the inside is what matters. This is like, we have to accept ourselves from inside, and all of the outside, it's fine. It's just like decoration in a way. So I don't know, maybe be comfortable just having a masculine presence as like with your shirt, with your clothes, or with your hair, but then going to something as extreme of surgery where there's no coming back. I just think it's wrong, and I want that message out as well. It's right and should be celebrated. I think people who think that is wrong should also have. People should be also listen to people like that think that it's wrong. Basically, I guess.
Well, the thing of it is, and you talk about like, okay, just because you're a tomboy doesn't mean you're a lesbian. Here's the thing that I've seen, and it feels to me like females are like targeted hardcore with all of this.
Oh yeah, they're racing women, basically.
There are
the transgender, like we have on the trans man thing. So basically, it's like telling tomboy, masculine woman that you have transition, and then you have the trans women who literally trying to erase women. Now they're like, oh, the Aretha Franklin "Natural Woman" song is offensive. Take it off of Spotify and Apple.
And that is
sports and women's bathroom and women's prisons and women's shelters and everywhere there's a safe space for women where we finally have it. I say sports, bathroom, prisons, shelters,
awards, Women of the Year.
New York Times had the headlines that the first 4-star female. First female to be 4-star admiral was Dr. Rachel Levine. Oh, excuse me, it's a man with a mental disorder. It's not a female. I'm sorry if it's blunt, but with him specifically, especially because his name, he picked the name Rachel, and that's my. Say Richard, and I'll be Rachel.
One of the things that I've seen it on Grindr, these trans men that are making a bulk of people that are now on Grindr that are females to male transition that are wanting to date gay men.
Okay.
And this, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is like something that is like, it's
they're straight.
right. It's like, so you had to cut your breast off and grow a beard to be able to have like male relations. It's like, or hetero relations. But this was one thing that I saw, I don't know if you caught this. This is in the UK, that they were suggesting that female to male trans people, if they were having trouble paying for their surgeries, that they should go to gay men dating sites and prostitute themselves for money to pay for their surgeries. And this,
the people I mentioned to you earlier, the gay man who I met on my teenagers years, who eventually transitioned, I've known 3. All of them raised money through prostitution. Yeah.
With
that's how they do it, basically.
With male to female, that's always been the case, and especially in Los Angeles, you saw it.
You were talking about female to male.
Yeah, they were talking about, they were telling female to males that they should, like, when they're going through the transition, they should pay for it by prostituting themselves on gay men's websites. And it's like, so you're, number one, you're creating a sex worker. Number one, you're as a medical professional, you're telling them that what is healthy for them is lopping off body parts, taking all this testosterone, and then going and prostituting yourself. And this is supposed to make them, fulfilled as a human being. I would think that this would push suicide even quicker,
Yeah, that's the affirming part.
What do you think
where do you, so
no, go ahead.
So that observation that you have about Grindr, or what you've seen of those the trans men, we'll call them, on Grindr, so that you see more of them, or like there's more presence of them there, and the reason for it is because of prostitution, or like in order to raise the funds that they need.
No.
Is that operation or not? Or
no, and from what I've seen on Grindr, that's never come into play. And for female to males, this was a document that came out in the UK through their health organization. They had it on their website, and
sorry,
and then it was taken off. No, but the thing of it is, with the, I just was surprised. So if you search FTM on Grindr, you'll see that there's tons. I mean, they're girls, right? That have gone through these like horrific surgeries and everything like that. And they're very adamant that you refer to them, and, and never bring into recognition that they don't have a penis. You're not supposed to talk about that. They say it in their profile, that you're not supposed to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that at all. And it's just like, there's this suspension of disbelief. How is this helping this person's mind become, a more of a whole human being? I don't see it.
And then the trans woman, the male to female who are trying to, I've been getting a lot, like I'm on social, online dating. I would have a lot of trans women who are trying to match with me or like my profile or anything of that sort. And then they also say, like, if you don't want me because I'm trans, then you're transphobe. I'm a lesbian. I'm attracted to women, not to disfigured men.
and the thing of it is like, and I don't mean to laugh, but it's insane though. It's like being in Alice in Wonderland, and the one thing that I've seen with all that is that there is this thing, T for T, which is trans for trans, meaning that they only want to date like another trans person. They don't want to date anybody that is
that's like the perfect scenario for them.
But if a cis person wants to not date trans people, that makes them transphobic. So there's really no ethics involved here. It's whatever they want at any given time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that Family Guy clip. Did you see that at the bar?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I posted that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
Oh yeah,
bartender,
do whatever you
excuse me,
want.
pour at the bar. Uh, say no, trans, I'm trans or something. It's just like I'm a trans woman. They're like, oh, sorry, do whatever you want at all
Yeah,
time.
it's everything's okay.
Yeah, do whatever you want at all times.
Where are we headed? Is there hope? Is there any way to put a period on all this stuff? Is there any way to put an end on all this, or is this just going to have to run its course, or where do you see this going?
I think there could be an end to it. The end will take a while. I don't think it's going to be something quick, as I see what's happening in the last was it 60 almost almost 8 months of me being involved with Gays Against Groomers and being been so close hand with everything that's happening behind the scenes. I have many people share with me content that they think that I should speak about, and all of these as we share the drag queen story hour, the drag shows, the teachers who indoctrinate them at the classrooms, things that going on like with different companies like the American Girl, the Sims as they're doing right now. What else? Bratz was doing. Bratz was doing something more sexualizing, I think, also. But we're in a huge war. Right, there's a huge war on the children right now, and it's happening, as I said, in all fronts. So for us to have an end to it, we need more people to be outspoken and uproar about it. If it needs to be banned in a company to show our stand, it needs to happen, and people should be more active about it. School board meetings, very important. Going and testify or sharing stories. There was legislator. People actually passed laws against these things, against the surgeries for children. Actually running for school boards to be able to put, when you have these teachers that are being found out, they have the support of the school board. So if we change the dynamic in that aspect, I think will be better. And then also, in a way, part of our economy of creating more content for what PragerU is doing, providing content that doesn't have all that wokeness in it to children, and raising your kids right. I keep saying you should have, if you can, homeschool your kids. But there are some public schools that are fine. But I think it will be an end to it when more people would care more, in a way, and we can get there. We're in the right path, but that's where it's gonna end. When we won't be like, okay, enough is enough. There were gonna be big rallies against it. People will show up, and then people will leave, and people will be worried to lose their positions. Then it's not worth it for them, or doctors will start getting sued, and it's gonna be money. I would like to see more of these lawsuits happening. They already started a few, but then I think with all of it together, that's how we eventually will end up, with all these fronts. And then mostly with parents, we need to. The kids at the end of the day can do whatever they want, but parents do have power over their kids. And especially if you have already a kid who's struggling there, if you have the tools to be able to prevent for them to go through any irreversible damage, then you must have this tool and knowledge and not be blind and blindly go through these paths of transitioning. So those are important.
But I think with the parents, people need to, they need to know that exposing your kids to drag queens and all of this hypersexualization, you're not helping the gay community by doing this. We never asked for any of this.
Yeah, they're hurting us.
No, absolutely. So, Magay, how do we find out more about you? What do people need to do?
Sure. So I go by Magay, which is Maga Gay, but in one word. I was thinking in 2018 when I was getting some hate on my personal Instagram account while I was, responding to Trump, like yay, or something of that sort, or supporting, backing it up. I came up with that name, and I just created like a fake account that stick. So I also go by Rachel. So where you can find me. So I'm mostly active. So I have that one original account that I created in 2018. It's on Instagram. It's Maggie. As I said, Maggie _45. That's the original account. And then I have a bunch of other backups because Instagram doesn't like me, and they keep like either removing my accounts or shadow banning, which means that the account is there, but nobody sees it. So in order to reach out to people, I'm like, okay, I trolled back Instagram. I created 7 more accounts, and there's like Mega _ 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can follow them if you'd like. But also I have 2 Twitter accounts because once again, I'm offensive. Twitter didn't like me. I don't think Elon has any problems with me since he took office, but but I'm also there. I guess what you need to do is go to the Maggie on Instagram, and there's a link tree. You can go to the link in my bio. And then if you want to go find me on Twitter, Getter, Truth, and then, yeah, I guess what else? I guess that's it. I also have my accounts in other places, but I'm not active in other places as well. But if you want to hear what I have to say, just go to Instagram.
What they won't tell you, we will.